was really nice, Mary. Thank you so much. Mary's a success story in and of herself, kind of a local girl does good. So I'm pleased that I got to have a part of that and impact that career just a little bit. She did it mostly through her own hard work and effort. So congratulations and thank you again for those nice comments. I apologize for moving so slowly. I figure if any group of people might understand about joint replacements for officials and old jocks, it might be this group. So thanks for your patience. I am humbled, honored, and proud to be included in this outstanding group of officials. But even more than that, I'm grateful because I have so many people and things in my life to be grateful for. And that's mostly what I want to talk about today, is some of the things I'm grateful for. First of all, I have my old friend Kenya Young, who couldn't be here today, and board member Bob Benoit, who apparently put my name into nomination. I must be very honest, I didn't know this group existed. She's with me. Yeah, I didn't know this group existed, but I'm excited now to know that it exists, and I'm very honored to be a part of it. And thank you to the committee for finding me worthy of this. I believe I'm one of the few volleyball people to be inducted, and I'm very grateful that that's happened. Volleyball is a great sport, and the officiating part of it is kind of unique. The first referee makes the majority of decisions from 30 feet away. And those decisions then have to be explained by the co-official, the second referee. So there's not a lot of direct communication between the person making the decision and the people who need to know the result, which is kind of unusual and in some ways fortuitous. We don't run a lot, which is what makes all you ex-baseball and basketball officials think you can do this. Saving those knees, I'm just saying. But it's a game that has such nuance and speed under the better players and the better levels of play that it is very difficult to officiate, especially at the higher levels. We're from a stationary position, so that's part of the challenge. So I appreciate very much that volleyball is getting recognized. I'm extremely grateful to my friends and family that all showed up today to support and be with me. I have a pretty good group of cheerleaders over here, and I'm very excited about that, and I know that they're here out of true love. And you know how I know that? Because I know most of them would much rather be home watching the Shockers right now. But some of them even had tickets, and they forego the tickets to come here. That is true love, you have to admit. And a couple of them did mention, okay, who schedules this thing? Did they not know? Yeah, you know what, no, it's perfectly all right. And for those of you in the back who might have your phones out and you're on Game Tracker, I don't want to hear any war whoops or anything because I've got it DVR'd at home and I'm going home ignorant and I'm going to watch it right after, so keep that to yourselves. Some of this group of friends and I go way, way back. Several of them were with me in 1971 when I broke the ankle that I just had replaced. And I slid into second base, in a practice no less, not even in a game. And it was a pretty ugly break. They could tell that right away. And so they couldn't quite figure out how to get me off the field into an emergency room. So with the wisdom of that only 20-year-old college kids can have, they decided to run into the nearest building, grab a chair, bring the chair out to the field. Somehow they managed to get me in the chair, and the next piece was that they decided the best mode of transportation was the back seat of a 1965 Mustang. Oh. And so there were 4 doors available, but no, that didn't seem right. So into the back of the Mustang I went with all of their care. But in spite of decisions like that and memories that brings to mind, I'm extremely grateful that I have the good fortune to have a group of college buddies who I have known for over 45 years and who are here to support me today. So I appreciate that. Sue Bear is back there with that group. She was the college instructor who literally jump-started my officiating career. In her officiating class in my sophomore year, she established a culture of excellence and commitment that just kind of clicked with me. And after the class, I moved into officiating high school. I officiated for the fraternities on campus. That will put hair on your chest, I promise. And after I graduated, I continued working some more high school, some more college, and I just kept digging to find opportunities and experiences that just all sprang from that springboard that Sue provided me. So thank you, Sue, for being here. And then again, did some of you have that one person that you worked early in your career with who was like your special partner and your camaraderie goes thick with that person? Well, I did. I was very lucky. And oh my gosh, the trips that Dave and I used to take in his van with his dog in the back, and we went exciting places like Heston and Colby. That was a good one. Yeah. And all the way out there, we would talk about officiating, and all the way back, we would solve the problems of the world. And trust me, we did that as only a couple of mid-20-year-olds can do. So it was a great experience. So thank you, Dave Koch, for those memories and for being here today and remaining a friend all those years. And then there's my loving family that I am extremely grateful to. I have had to miss so many birthdays and holidays and anniversaries, as I'm sure all of you have. Special events because of my travel schedule and my commitments. And even though I still think to this day they don't quite understand what I do, they've been patient and they've supported me, especially Paula. Thank you very much. But there's a greater message here today. I've got two great nieces here, Samantha and Skylar. Hi. And the greater message that I want them to have is that women can be strong and successful and confident, even in a male-dominated industry. And at the same time develop a circle of lifetime friends that can sustain you through some of those tough times. So I want them to hear that message loud and clear. My dad passed away when I was 18, but he influenced my career a lot. He umpired baseball, and he got into that in kind of an unusual way that you guys might appreciate. My oldest brother, Gary, we called him Butch, was a pretty good catcher in his teenage years, and my dad very seldom missed a game of his. But my dad always sat right behind the backstop and assisted the umpire with those ball and strike calls, sometimes pretty vociferously. And one night as I was sitting beside him, I was about 12 or so in the stands, he was especially loud in his disagreement to the point that the poor umpire late in the game finally turned around and just said, "Hey pal, if you think you can do better, why don't you just try it?" And my dad, being a pretty reasonable man and never one to turn away from a challenge, took that advice. And he did what he needed to do to become an umpire out at Westside Athletic Field, and he did that for several summers. And the important part of that is that he then joined the fraternity, and he quit yelling at umpires because he realized how hard that can be. So I'm grateful for all of the role models and support that my family provided me way back then and even to this day. I'm especially grateful that I've managed to create a way of making a living that lets me wake up every morning and look forward to going to work. I told my mother when I was about 15 that I didn't want to have a job. I didn't want to wake up every morning dreading to go to my job. And I've been blessed in that I haven't had to do that. I'm currently the coordinator for 6 Division I conferences, and I grew into those to the point that they came to me. I didn't have to go to them, which was kind of nice. I'm ready to start shoveling a few of those off to other people as the time comes. And I mean, sure, as a conference coordinator, I sometimes have to deal with cranky coaches or conference bureaucracy, as I'm sure some of you are familiar. But mostly, I get to make my whole living by going and watching volleyball matches and helping other people get better at their craft and traveling a lot. And that's just not a bad gig. I've been very, very lucky in that regard. I'm truly grateful for this organization and the brother-sisterhood of officiating that reaches across all sports, because I have to tell you, we have to celebrate ourselves. No one else does. And I'm affiliated with the National Association of Sports Officials, as Mary mentioned, and their surveys show that the cadre of officials in all sports is aging out because we simply aren't an attractive industry for young people. And more importantly, item B is the reason for that has to do with sportsmanship issues, primarily. That's what their surveys show. And I'm sure that doesn't surprise too many people in this room, and it's typically not the players, is it? It's the parents and the fans. Sometimes when I'm talking to non-officials, I ask them what it would feel like for them to go to work every day and have others who share their workspace start telling them immediately that they're at best incompetent and more likely unprofessional and unethical. I mean, you just don't have that in other industries, and yet we expose ourselves to that every time we go out there. I had a friend who was officiating at a junior club event recently, and a group of parents, one in particular, was just making life awful for these referees. This is a 13-year-old match. Okay, 13-year-olds. And they're using everything from sarcasm to insults to make comments to these officials. So at these big events, there's a head official who's over the whole thing, who's in street clothes, and she was standing there listening to some of this. And after the match, she went up to that parent, just making small talk. He didn't know who she was. And finally got around to just saying, "What is it you do for a living?" And he said, "Oh, you know, I'm an accountant with Smith & Jones or whoever, some local accounting firm." And the head official said, "Okay, you know what? On Monday morning, I'm going to come to your workplace, and I'm going to return the favor. So the minute I get to the door of your office, I'm going to start yelling about your judgment, your hustle, and your intelligence from the minute you turn on your computer." Do I have any training in accounting? No. Apparently that's not required. Do I have the same view or the knowledge that you do of your clients or your work? No, but apparently that's not required either. Fans truly believe that when they pay $5 to get in the door, it's their right and almost their responsibility to make comments about our work. So I firmly believe that we have to celebrate ourselves. And I'm extremely proud and grateful to the Hall of Fame for doing that for me and for all of the other members. Finally, I'm thankful for the many positives that officiating brought to my life. When I do clinics and camps and I get to talk to young officials, I tell them all the time that the characteristics that make you a good official will have a positive effect on the rest of your life as well. You'll learn resilience, patience, communication skills, and confidence. You'll learn to prioritize and at the same time pay attention to the smallest details. You practice setting goals, and you learn to never be complacent, because we all have that goal of calling the perfect game or the perfect match, but somehow we never quite do, because often after the match we're our own worst critics. And you become part of an amazing network of like-minded people, and that's one of the very best parts of this. So thank you again for this recognition. I'm amazingly honored, and thank you to the committee.
At this time, I would like to present the plaque for Marcia Alterman, who's going to Kansas Collegiate Officials Hall of Fame. Congratulations.